Hey, what's up guys? The video I want to share with you today is the full keynote presentation that I gave at an event for a friend of mine recently. There were about 50 really high-level entrepreneurs in the audience who all paid thousands of dollars to be in this room. Now, my deal with my buddy was that I would deliver this speech for free as long as I could publish it on my YouTube channel afterwards. He agreed, so therefore we get to put this video out there. It's around the mindset and the tactics of hyperachievement, being able to follow through on everything that you say that you'll do and know that you should be doing to move both your business and your life forward. Now, these guys are making tons of notes throughout the whole thing. You'll see them in there. They got massive value out of it. I hope you get massive value out of it too. Before we jump into that video, I do want to let you know that I'm certainly not clean in this video. I say the F word probably 50-something times in the 42 minutes of this video. If that offends you, this probably isn't the best video for you, but you're still gonna get value out of it even if it offends you. So I would encourage you to watch it no matter what. Enjoy. I like to take stock of the people that I'm talking to before I talk to them. So has anybody in here set a goal or a target at any point within the last 5 to 10 to 30 years that they haven't accomplished? Raise your hand if that's you. Oh, thank goodness. All right, I actually have people to talk to about this. In the next 20 to 30 minutes, I'm going to show you guys a framework and a skill set to where you will never have to raise your hands again when asked a question like that. Even better, it's super simple to execute because I only understand things at a 3rd grade level. So that's the way that I'm going to communicate with all of you guys. What we're ultimately going to be talking about here is we're going to be talking about the concept of follow through. But we're going to be using a fairly traditional frame that perhaps some of you guys have looked at and sought after that I believe is entirely wrong. What I am supposed to be a subject matter expert on up here is accountability. That's what Sam gave me as my topic. You go up there and you talk to them about being accountable because I shared with you guys what I do professionally now as I'm a coach and I help people make sure that they follow through on what they say they're going to do, to where it's an absolute certainty, it is inevitable that they will get what they want. My work with those people is based on one fact and one fundamental truth. The fact is that you only understand the effort that it takes to get what you currently have. That's it, right? Wherever your marriage is, wherever your body is, wherever your business is, wherever your connection with God is, that all takes effort. There is no single domain in your life that doesn't take some degree of effort. Whatever your results are in that domain is simply the amount of effort you know it takes to get what you want. And that's where people level off. When it comes to the fundamental truth, based on the work that I do with people, is that if each one of you knew how to push yourself as hard as you needed to push yourself to get what you really want, then you'd already have it. So we're going to talk about accountability, but we're going to talk about accountability in a different way than perhaps you've talked about it before. Because I'm going to have you consider that if you think you need an accountability partner or search for an accountability partner, the reality of it is that you just haven't yet learned how to care enough about your future self to actually do it on your own. What we're going to go through over the next 20 minutes is we're going to be talking about the problems that exist with the notion of execution wrapped in the package of accountability. I'm going to give you guys some ways to think about it that what I'm hoping you'll do is shift your perspective on your own performance and your own stories about why you can't, why you can, what you do, and what you don't do. And then I'm going to finish that off with some practical, tactical skills to do it. Because achievement is really tactical when we look at it. When we think about setting targets, which is a process you guys are going to go through tomorrow, we like to look at that as a linear trajectory. I'm going to go from here and I'm going to go over to there. That's all a tactical framework, but what we don't realize is that achievement is a science that's executed by human artists. And so we have to deal with our emotions that are fighting us the entire time when we're trying to make big changes. Because everybody can raise their hand and say, yes, I want to make a massive change in my life. There are guys that are standing in this room that need to make a massive change in your life so your family stays together. There are guys in this room that need to make a massive change in your life because you need to stop drinking. There are guys that need to make a massive change in this life to realize that the certainty that got them to this point needs to be amplified to get to the next point so you don't sit in fear about the decisions that you've already made. So we're going to be working through that, but we've got to start with the problem. Has anybody looked for an accountability partner before? Like doing anything? Okay. Here's the problem with that. You didn't want accountability, you wanted to transfer responsibility. Would have gone to the gym. This guy said he was going to meet me at 6 a.m. He didn't show up, so I kind of got disinterested and I didn't do it. I didn't go do it. Hey, I am a sales guy. I hate making cold calls, but I know that I've got to make cold calls if I'm going to make the amount of sales that I need to make so I can get the quota, so I can buy the car that I want or the house that I want or go on vacation or I want or buy my wife those Louboutins that she's been wanting. But I hate doing it. So I'm going to go to David and I'm going to go, hey, David, here's what I need you to do, man. You're going to be my accountability buddy. Don't let me leave on Friday until you know that I've made 50 cold calls. Cool? All right, cool. So then Friday comes 3 o'clock. David, who has a pre-planned vacation that weekend, leaves. I haven't made my 50 calls. And then I start going like, well, shit, I would have made my 50 calls if fucking David stayed and held me accountable to what he said he was going to hold me accountable for. We only look for accountability at the shit we don't want to do. Never, ever has anybody been like, shit, man, I am fucking struggling. Like, Eric, I need you to call me and hold me accountable to watch Ted Lasso every fucking night for like an hour. I want 2 episodes, okay? I can't fucking do it. Hey, call me, make sure that I drink at least 6 beers every single night. Like, that never happens, right? We don't do that. It's only for the hard shit that we don't want to do, which leads to the fundamental principle about accountability is that if you feel like you need an accountability partner, it's simply because you have not yet made the decision to love your future self more than you love yourself today. That's the fundamental fucking problem with accountability. Because one of the things that I've realized is that stress in my own life, stress in my client's life, stress in just about every man I know's life lives in one single place. And there's a gap. That space is what you believe to be your potential in whatever domain that is. The marriage that you want, the business that you want, the body that you want at your potential. Which would anybody in here say that they have reached their potential? They're highest, they're self-actualized in like Maslow's thing. Are you as good as you're ever gonna fucking be? That's beautiful because there's hope. But there's also stress because there's the reality of your results, which are south of your understanding of your own potential. And in this gap here, that's where internal friction is created. That's where stress is created. When you know in your brain that you can be so much more, but you struggle to do the basic things that you know you need to do in order to get what you want. When I talk about achievement being a science that's executed by human artists, there's a number of guys in here and some guys at our table that were struggling with weight loss. Well, Jesse knows this. It's a really simple mathematical problem. You have less calories in than you put out, and voila, you do that over a long period of time, and you get exactly what you want. It's tactical, super simple. Everybody can understand it. But understanding that you have to care about the future version more than the current version is the hard part that people screw up. When people struggle to lose weight, it's not because Felix didn't know what he was doing in the programming of the fitness or the programming of the nutrition. It's because that person hadn't first changed their own mind about what they wanted for themselves. So that's just the first problem with accountability. Got to refresh my memory on what the second problem was. The second problem when it comes to simple execution is that we tend not to see the throughput of why we do what we do or choose not to do. There was one word in that sentence that was really the most important one, which is why. Because we can set all these targets. You guys will leave here tomorrow going like, fuck yeah, man, I'm gonna do all of this, I'm gonna go make all this money, I'm gonna fuck my wife way more than I fuck her now, and she's gonna do all the positions that I want her to do that I haven't been able to figure out how to get her to do for a really long time, like a birthday fuck. And I'm gonna have this awesome connection to God. That's only in Warrior do you get, I'm gonna fuck my wife in like 18 positions and then I get connected to God. And I'm gonna have 6-pack abs in 6 months. It's gonna be fucking rad. I'm gonna do all of that. But if you don't understand why that matters, like why it truly matters, then you're going to be just like the guy you were that raised your hand that said, I had a goal that I wanted to hit that I couldn't hit. There's an emotional cycle of change that goes along with any sort of achievement. There's 4 fundamental stages. And this is actually in clinical psychiatry. I just changed the names of the phases because their names sounded clinical and not fun. When we set a target, our very first phase of this thing is the fired up stage. We are fired up. Picture this person in January, on January 1st. Gyms are full on January 1st. Everybody's fired up. They're like, this is the year, motherfucker. I'm gonna lose my weight. I'm gonna look so hot. It's gonna be awesome. They're fired up. A couple days later, what happens? They enter a stage called fucked up, which is where they start to take inventory of the costs of achieving what they want to achieve. Now we start realizing this thing got heavy. 1, I don't know if I'm willing to make the sacrifice. 2, I don't even know if I'm capable of making the sacrifice. This is kind of fucked up. I don't know if I should have told all those people that I was gonna get 6-pack abs in like 6 months. I should have probably just sat on my hands on that one, but kind of pays in the barn. I got it out there. If you get through fucked up, you go to another phase, because don't wait, it gets worse. You go into the trough of despair. This is where it feels like nothing's working despite every single effort that you're putting out. I'm working my ass off, but I'm still not getting what I want. Man, I am trying to communicate with my wife. I'm trying to show her that I love her. I'm trying to show her that I support her. I'm trying to show her I'm sorry. And it's not fucking working. This is why is so important. Because the trough of despair happens on January 12th. Anybody know what happens on January 12th? Gyms start to get empty. So Garmin, the maker of this watch, did this study because these are all connected. And they figured out that activity stops dramatically on January 12th because everybody was fired up. They hit the fucked up stage. They hit the trough of despair real quick. And they start to tell themselves stories that it wasn't so bad. It wasn't so bad back there making that amount of money. It wasn't so bad back there having the body that I had. It wasn't so bad with that marriage where we fucked maybe every 3 weeks or so, but at least I didn't have to collide with her and fight with her and be uncomfortable and all this stuff. We tell ourselves those stories, and so we decide we're going to go back, then to enter the fired up stage again because now we're super excited about something again because we don't know the consequences yet. But let's say you get through that. You get to the lift. All the obstacles are essentially behind you, and you're virtually assured of achieving what you want to achieve. But understanding that why at a super deep level is one that you must do on your path to any sort of change, any sort of transformation, anything beyond having Eric call me every night to make sure that I watch Ted Lasso for an hour is something that you need to have. And I'm gonna walk you guys through a tactical framework in a few minutes that's gonna show you exactly how to do that. We already did it at my table. You guys got ahead. Yes, sir. The lift, yeah, that's the last one. So again, it's clinical psychology, but their names suck. They didn't have stuff like fired up and fucked up, and trough of despair was named something that sounded way like nicer. And so I was like, what's hell look like? It's despair because despair has no hope. Third problem when it comes to achievements is that your stated intentions are most often lies. Now I know this because what happened maybe 2 years ago, I think it was 2 years ago, my wife points at my alarm clock, and I don't know how we even got into this discussion, but she points at my alarm clock and she says, for you, that's not an alarm clock. For you, that's truth serum. And I sit there and I go, tell me more about this, Coach Amber. Because sometimes she'll sit there and she's like, hey, I need Coach Brent. That's when I know I've got permission to like coach her, because most of the time you just got to sit back and just be like, hey, do your thing. And then she goes, hey, I need Coach Brent. And I'm like, oh, good. I was hoping you were going to ask about Coach Brent today. So I go, tell me more, Coach Amber, when she says that the alarm is truth serum for me. My alarm clock goes off at 4:35 a.m. My feet are on the floor no later than 4:36. Count to 8. If my feet aren't on the floor, they're never going to be on the floor. And she points out that this is truth serum because my intention when I set my alarm clock for 4:30 is that I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna go to the gym and I'm gonna work as hard as I can possibly work from 5 a.m. to about 6:15 a.m. And I do that and I follow through. So my stated intention, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to go to the gym, that's true. But there are other things where my stated intention is a lie, right? My stated intention, everybody that's been around me for a while knows that I really struggle to connect with my daughter sometimes, who's 12. My stated intention is, man, I'm gonna have more patience with her. man, I'm really gonna sit there with her, I'm gonna guide her, I'm going to be interested in Taylor Swift. Fucking A. If I have to listen to Taylor Swift one more time, or if I have to hear how she wants to go to the Eras Tour in Paris, because that's the only place you're going now, I don't know what I'm gonna do. But my stated intention is I'm gonna connect with her this time. This quarter is gonna be the quarter. I'm gonna do that. But then what do I allow to have happen? Perhaps you guys have had something like this happen. You have a stated intention, you have a stated goal, but then something else comes up that's more important. You know what, man, I'd actually rather like pour into my wife this quarter. That's really what I need to do. So when we have a stated intention and we don't follow through with it, at the fundamental core of it, our stated intention was a lie. The truth shows through our actions. What actions did I take based on what I said that I was going to do? That shows you the truth. It's not an alarm clock, it's truth serum. You guys will all leave here tomorrow with some commitments that you're going to make. Great. You're gonna find out really quickly if those are true or if those are lies. Now, if they're lies, it's not the worst thing in the world. We're all liars. My point is with this is that if you can identify where your actions don't match your intentions, that gives you an opportunity to course correct. And most of the time, people wait way too long to course correct on anything. When we look at financial reports, JB, typically we're looking at them every month, and we're looking at that as a history lesson. Every month when it comes to your own performance as a man, that's way too long to figure out how to course correct it. Weekly at like minimum, you've got to be looking at this stuff to figure out what you need to do. So the good news is, those are all the problems that I want to share with you for right now when it comes to execution, accountability, and doing the work that you already know that you need to do. Because one of the things that I am absolutely 100% convinced of, nobody in here can talk me out of it. If God himself was here, he would struggle to talk me out of this thing, is that the answer that each one of you came here looking for is already inside of your head. But there's a problem. You don't know the question to ask that is going to pull that answer out. Now, I'm no mathematician, but having half the equation isn't enough to solve the equation. So let's talk about some different ways to think. We understand the problems when it comes to achievement. We understand the problem when we look at accountability because we don't care enough about our future selves. So how do we need to think about this? The first thing I want you guys to think about is you are only accountable to one single person. And that is your future self. You're not accountable, like in the scenario where I gave to David, where I'm like, man, I hate making these cold calls. I don't want to make these cold calls. Hold me accountable to making these cold calls, transferring responsibility of my performance to him. I'm really only accountable to my future self because I know that when I sell the number of whatever I'm selling in this scenario, I will make the money that I want to make to buy the shit that I want to buy. So I'm more accountable to my future self. So this concept that there's out there right now about self-love, right? Everybody hear this, like you see memes like love yourself exactly where you are. Like this is something Lizzo would say, being like 800 pounds overweight, like that's a really good thing to be. It's total bullshit. Because of the nature of knowing where stress and internal friction is created between what you see as your potential to yourself and the reality of your results right now. So I want each of you guys to consider that loving yourself is a wonderful thing. You're just loving the wrong one. You need to love your future self more than you love yourself today. Because when you do that, you are going to protect your future self from suffering. Because that's really our action. That's our entire modality. What we are looking to do as men is we're looking to avoid pain. But most of the time, we're just looking at the wrong pain to avoid. And so we'll talk about that in a few minutes in terms of how to flip that and really how to change your mind about it. Because again, for you to take the actions that you already know you need to take, what the reality of it is that you simply need to understand that it's more painful not to take the actions than taking them. So that's the first thing I want you to think about. The second thing I want you to think about is your actions. Yes, that is the second thing I want you to think about. So you make thousands of decisions every day. Somebody gave me this stat once that we make like 7,800 decisions a day, but I also tend to think that at least 98% of all statistics are made up on the spot. So I have no idea if this is true. But we would say yes or no that we make a whole bunch of decisions every day. Yes, we make tons of decisions. Well, those decisions lead to what? What do decisions lead to, Jennings? Actions. Actions lead to outcomes, right? So our decisions, they lead to actions. Every action you take only has two possible outcomes. Every action you take today is either an act of love or an act of war on your future self. You go to the gym today, Felix knows this, you get sore, like especially when you first start, like when somebody's first starting to work out and they haven't trained in a long time, they're going like, Felix, bro, like I don't know if I can keep doing this, man. I'm sore, like I can't wipe my ass. Like, yeah, it's fucking terrible. It's horrible. It's horrible, right? You get off on it though. Yeah, exactly. That's Felix's porn, by the way. He like hears people sore and he's like, hey, let me go to the bathroom for a second by myself, okay? Actually, everybody just stand back because we're talking about it. I don't want to get in the blast radius. But if we do these things that hurt us today, we're going to feel better about it tomorrow. Burpees suck ass to do. They do. You feel terrible while you're doing them. There's this one workout at the gym which is just 100 burpees flat out, and I'm not BQ. So like it takes me like 6 minutes to do these things, and I'm pretty fit, but it still sucks ass to do. It's one of the horrible things. But I feel way better in the afternoon after I did it. I don't even like working out, yet I wake up at 4:35 every single morning, even on the fucking weekends, and work out at 5 because I know I'm gonna feel better about it later. Now let's flip that. Let's say that I get up, and instead of working out, I decide to go to the donut shop. And I'm like, you know what, man, 12 donuts sounds amazing this morning. I haven't cheated in like 18 months. Give me 18 donuts. Let's do this. What's it gonna be like when I'm eating those donuts? It's gonna be good, right? Like, cause everybody loves a donut. Is there anybody that hates donuts? No, you can hate black licorice, you can hate salt and vinegar chips, but you can't hate donuts. Like everybody likes donuts. You feel great while you're having them. But man, what's it gonna be like in an hour? You'll be sitting there going like, oh, I don't know about this. Like that wasn't a good idea. Oh man, I got off my diet. That was a bad idea. Oh, sorry, fit people call it nutrition plans. Fat people call it diets. I got off of my nutrition plan, that was bad. Knowing that one of the principles here, this is a bonus principle for you, the more you cheat, the more you cheat. You're on a nutrition plan that says that you get so much fat every day, which by the way, I get 31 almonds a day. Not 32, not 30, I get 31, that's the nutrition plan. But let's say that I had 32 because I'm living on the wild side. It's gonna be a hell of a lot easier for me to decide, I'm gonna have that cheeseburger, I'm gonna have some pizza tonight. I've never cheated on my wife. It's never even crossed my mind to cheat on my wife. But I imagine that if I did, it'd be a lot easier to do the second time. The more you cheat, the more you cheat. That's a bonus thing to think about. Let's just see what I had next, because I prepared. Nobody said this in The Biggest Lie that they're telling themselves, but I guarantee you that there is a lie that everybody has told themselves at least once, maybe several thousand times, me included. We say two words that when put together end up shattering everything that we believe to be our potential. Those words are, it's okay. We give ourselves a hall pass. It's okay, like, you know what, I'm gonna have another jump at that. There's gonna be another opportunity for me to do that. I've got more time. One of the things that was very powerful that David shared, I forget it's something, like I forget where it was, but I remember you on video saying the number one lie anybody's telling themselves is that they have time. Because we have no idea. There could be a bomb that goes off outside because somebody hates the construction people, and we're all gone in a second. We don't know if we have more time, but when we constantly say it's okay, we're giving ourselves a pass. And what's that doing inside of our brains when we give ourselves a pass? We're starting to become the person that has the identity of constantly falling short of what we want. We tolerate mediocrity from ourselves, and in some cases we do it as a protection mechanism for our ego. Because how many times have you gone after something or said you were going after something and then you didn't get it, and you start to tell yourself, you know what? If I went as hard as I could, I would have gotten it. You know, if I really wanted it, I would have gone out there, I would have got it. Like, we say that to ourselves because it's a protection, because there is a fear in all of us, me included, that is so worried that the potential that we believe that we have, that people have been talking to us about since we were in 3rd grade, isn't really it. That we're someplace south of that. Because we all want to believe that we can live at this potential, this crazy idea of what life looks like, right? We've got that idea. Everybody has this vision of their best self. But we're scared to death that that true self is not reality. So we tell ourselves we water down our effort. And when we water down our effort, we say, it's okay. I can get it. I just need to change my ideas about it. I just need to really want it. If I figured out how to really want it, then I would go get it. That's what I would do. So it's not okay. That's the mindset to have. If you have a stated intention that says, I'm getting out of bed at 4:35 and I'm working out at 5 o'clock, and if I can get to within 1 heartbeat away from death, then I know I did it right, then it's not fucking okay to not do that. Because you're only accountable to your future self. So what happens day one when you don't get out of bed at 4:35, even though you said you were gonna get out of bed at 4:35? There's this little part in the back of your brain that says, this guy is a fucking liar. You do that enough, I don't trust this guy anymore. You do that even more than that, and you stop making any bold statements or bold commitments because you already subconsciously know, I'm not gonna do that shit. I'm not the guy that goes and does that shit. I'm the guy who says it's okay. So it's not fucking okay. It drives me fucking insane when we set targets that we don't hit. And I've done a bunch of that. It drives me fucking crazy because it exposes so much truth about what your stated intention was versus what your actual intention was. Your actual intention was to stay fat. Your actual intention was to stay in your marriage where you're not having the sex that you want to have or the connection you want to have. Your actual intention is to stay in scarcity in business. That's your actual intention. So it's not fucking okay. You guys are all here, regardless of the investment that you made, whether you invested a lot, whether you invested a little. Man dramatically overvalues his money, but dramatically undervalues his time and attention. You guys all made an investment to be here, and that investment is the one thing you can never get back. People can get close to broke, make the money back, it's all good, no problem. You're never getting these fucking 2 days back. So you have to look at this whole thing as what's the maximum return on investment I am going to get. As an aside, every single one of you will hear exactly what you need to hear while you're here. Every single one of you will see exactly what you need to see, but there's a trick to it. You have to look. So whether you're receiving what I'm saying or not, there is something in this for you. You have to open your eyes to look for it. So there's your mindsets. Let's talk about how to actually do this, because so far, all I've done is come and taken a shit on your front lawn and said, all right, I hope you enjoy that. I'm gonna keep going on my walk. So let's talk about what we actually do. So there's a guiding light that I want you guys to consider for all of your decision making. And it has to do simply with this. Whatever it is that you resist doing the most, whatever it is that you tell yourself you don't want to do, that's exactly what to do. Hey, I don't want to meditate. I don't think that's a good idea. I don't want to take 15 minutes to read the word. I only have 3 minutes today. I don't want to do it. That's all it takes, is you see the thing that you don't want to do. You see the thing that you feel in your gut and in your heart that you do not absolutely want to do under any circumstance. And that's exactly what to do. Very similar to the principle that Maury uses when we're talking about fighting. What do you absolutely not want to have done to you? That's the thing you do to the other person. Think about that in terms of your current self versus your future self. What do you absolutely not want to do to your future self that you have to do to your current self to suffer? So it's a simple question. Anytime you're going to do something, do I want to do it or do I not want to do it? If the answer is, I don't want to do it, then that's exactly what you do. If the answer is, I want to do it, it's probably not going to make you any better. I want to watch Ted Lasso. Like I don't want to go to sleep when I say I'm going to go to sleep. Same thing. All right, next tactic is a way to shift your thinking. And you shift your thinking, and here's the problem. At the stage you guys are all at, your biggest obstacle is yourself. If you could just overcome that obstacle, every other obstacle falls down. The trouble is that you're a bunch of rich motherfuckers. You guys have wives or girlfriends. You have a decent life. When we look at it on the outside, I know when we're in here, everybody kind of feels like, man, this is shittier than I thought it was going to be. Like anybody walk in here thinking like, man, this is actually really going really well right now. My life is pretty awesome. And then by lunch, you're like, I don't know what just happened, but whoa, like I'm fucked up. Like you get that. We see that feeling, right? So when we think things are going the way that we want them to go, it's simply because we're too comfortable. It's a trap. That's why 10,000-foot houses start to feel like plush cells. That's why the level of fitness I'm at is a comfortable level of fitness. Because people look at me, and unless it's Felix, they're going like, man, you know what, man, if I could have that physique, that'd be pretty cool. Like, I'd like that. And I look at you the same way. But in any event, right, when we think about our comfort is an enemy. Because everything that it took you to get to the stage you're at in life goes back to one of the first problems, which is the fundamental fact, which is that we only understand the amount of effort it takes to get what we have right now. And so because we've gotten conditioned ourselves to the state that we have right now, that makes us in comfort. And here's the crazy ass part. You can be in comfort making $100,000 a year. You can be in comfort making $100 million a year. Your potential is still out there because nobody's ever done, so there's still stress, there's still internal friction, but we get trapped by our own comfort. The easiest thing any of us can do is move from scarcity to abundance. Why? Because you have to. Struggling to make rent, struggling to make payroll. Oh shit, I bought this expensive car and I don't know how I'm gonna pay for it. I've got $100,000 in startup funding every single month that goes out. Fuck, what do I do now because I just made myself super uncomfortable? Which, by the way, well fucking done. The difference is that when we try to go from abundance to prosperity, which I know we look at in a financial sense, but consider prosperity in every single domain. What does prosperity look like for you in being? What does prosperity look like for you in balance? What does prosperity look like for you in body? It's super hard to get to prosperity because you don't have to. So there's a shift in your mind that needs to take place from comfort to combat. You were there, you heard the speech, we were holding the logs in the rain that looked like movie rain when it was coming out. And that sounds like all macho and shit. Sounds like I should be Maury when I say that. You gotta shift from comfort to combat, man. Macho. But in reality, you may need to go into combat mode to sit on the floor and play with your 8-year-old daughter. You may need to go into combat mode to shut the world out in the morning and say, I'm gonna take 15 minutes at least and I'm gonna read the word. That's combat. Because it's the stuff that you're trying to tell yourself, you know, it's not that big a deal. It's okay. I'm just gonna move over here and I'm gonna take care of it. Okay, we clear on this? We shift our mindset thinking, comfort to combat. Everything that we do, we think about what would I be doing if I was in combat mode right now. People often ask me, do I have to stay in combat mode all the time? Because that sounds really fucking tiring. Yes, you fucking do. Because the more you cheat, the more you cheat. It's not okay. This actually just goes to a simple little tactic, which is make sure that you actually mean it when you set your targets. Because having to go into combat mode all the time and it being hard just means that you set a target that was either way too big, Like you're making $100,000 and you're like, next year I'm gonna make $10 million, man. I talked to these guys in black shirts, sure seemed like they know what they were talking about. I talked to JB, I got my finances on point. Fuck yeah, man, we're going from $100,000 to $10 million in 1 year. Never gonna happen. I suppose in some cases it might, but for us, it's probably not. Or you didn't give enough of a fuck about it to actually make it happen. So yes, you do fucking need to stay in combat mode all the time. But remember that combat mode isn't always up, isn't always looking for the threat. It's combat with the things that you tell yourself it's okay not to do. Final tactical piece I want to give you guys, and then we'll wrap it up. And we did this at our table. Man by nature wants to avoid pain. You want to avoid your own pain. Anything that we're not doing because we believe that we're going to experience some measure of pain. There were some guys at our table that need to confront their wives but aren't confronting their wives because there is a perception that they will experience pain by doing this. That pain might be, man, I don't have the energy to get in another fight because it just got taken all out of me while I was at work all day. Or the pain could be, man, I would love to collide, but I'm kind of worried about getting a blowjob and I kind of want that more than I want to get in the fight. But there is pain associated with the actions that we're not taking or our stories about those things. So one of the things that I want to encourage everybody to do is, in your own time, take what we've done this morning and grab your journal and get a fresh page. Everybody can do this right now. You don't have to fill out the exercise that I'll give you, but everybody grab a fresh page on your journal. And then I want this to be 3 columns, 3 vertical columns. In the left column, I want you to write pain of acting. And I want you on your own time, I encourage you to take inventory of all of your perceptions of the pain that you will feel by taking action. Good example of this is one I gave a few minutes ago. If you're a guy that's been struggling with fitness, one of the pains that you could be telling yourself about acting and getting into that is, I'm gonna be sore, I'm gonna be sweaty, I'm not gonna be able to eat the foods that I wanna eat, and I'm gonna be embarrassed when I go to the gym. Those are pains of acting. And those are all real pains. We're not here to minimize those, we're here to recognize them. Big difference in those two things. So on the left side, we've got pain of acting. Now go all the way over to the right side. The right side, at the top, write pain of not acting. Take inventory of this too. What you're going to find when you do this right is that all the pains of not acting are long-term pains and much bigger than the pains that you have of acting. That you're all going to find are relatively short-term pains. Good example of this, we'll go back to the fitness space. If I don't get a handle on my fitness now because I'm worried about the pain of being sore, being sweaty, not eating what I want to eat, and being embarrassed when I'm at the gym, well, what's the long-term pain of not acting? Well, I got obesity, right? Am I right about this, doctor? I got onset diabetes, like adult onset diabetes. I got heart disease and hypertension, and ultimately I wind up in a fucking box way before I should. That's essentially how it works. Okay, that's the pain of not acting. You are only going to take actions that you believe are going to cause you the least amount of pain. So if you can't convince yourself that it's more painful not to act in whatever domain you're struggling to act in, or all of them, you're never going to shift off of your current position. My encouragement for you in the pain of not acting is to let yourself go there. You might be asking yourself, where's there? It's the worst case scenario. Anybody in here divorced? When you got married, did you think about like, man, I can't wait, we're gonna get divorced, it's gonna be awesome. Like, you propose, and then you go straight to the divorce attorney and just be like, hey, can I have this card just in case? Like, I just want it, I might need it at some point, right? We don't think about what that looks like. But that is a pain of not acting. So we have to be able to figure this out. If we can't get ourselves to the stage that says that can happen to me, then you're never going to act. So you have to let yourself go there. Man, I'm gonna be bankrupt if I don't take the action on these cold calls that I know I need to take. man, my wife is gonna leave me, she's gonna take half of my money and my kids, and I'm gonna end up jerking off in the corner of a 1-bedroom apartment alone. If you can get yourself there, you will do whatever. But let yourself go there when you do the pains of not acting. Cool? Okay, last piece of this, because you got one more column in there. And in that column at the top, I want you to write the cost of the gap. There are costs associated with you acting or not acting that you simply haven't taken inventory of yet. And I bet you that if you did, you would probably have a little bit more urgency in your action. So when we think about costs, everybody immediately thinks dollar sign. But there are deeper costs than just your money, because there's an emotional cost that happens. Anybody in here who got divorced, there's a massive fucking emotional cost that goes along with that. Not just the financial cost of you having to write checks to Dawn still and gritting your teeth every time you fucking do it. You have to have an assessment of the costs of that gap between acting and not acting, because in reality, when you're going to go on offense, which I'm going to consider all of you guys are doing when it comes to the achievements that you want to make. When you come out of here tomorrow afternoon and you're in the fired up stage, you want to do those things. And when you're going on offense, and there was this guy that used to be around here. I watched a video of him last night. His name was Dan Cirillo. He was a retired Navy SEAL. And he passed away of a heart attack earlier this year. And he had so many life lessons. But one of the life lessons that stuck with me and sticks with me to this day is if you're gonna go on offense, go on offense. And what that means in the SEAL community is they're out on patrols, they get contacted, and there's 16 guns shooting in one direction, unloading like Predator when they see the fucking Predator and everybody just goes in there and just unloads everything. If you're gonna go on offense, go on offense. Find all the possible leverage that you can get on yourself through the pain of acting, pain of not acting, cost of the gap. Do everything that you can think of that you guys have been taking notes on in the way that your mindset needs to happen. But ultimately, realize this, is that if you can't figure out how to care more about your future self than you care about yourself today, then you will always be your current self.